recording will start. The camera will go live right at 7. So just a couple minutes here.
Did you sell your house? What the showing you just had? Good. You're here before me. I'll be late. I'll be right at 7.
Just quick. About 5 doors down from my house. We're on out.
Hey, Chris, there's a camera right there in the front. Right here, down low. Okay.
What's that?
Hard to see.
No, it's the camera's right up on the aisle.
Okay.
Yeah.
The big black one.
Yeah.
Should brought my sunglasses. My hat.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to the Ark Valley News Valley Center School Board Election Forum for the 2021 election. I'm Chris, and I'll be the host tonight. And I just want to thank you all for being here. Also want to thank the school district for letting us use this school in this beautiful auditorium tonight, and also a special thanks to Megan Upton-Tyner and her tech students, stage tech class, who set this up for us tonight, that we could have all of our board members here. I just want to recognize a couple of people I've seen in the audience, and if you want to just kind of give a wave. I can't see real well, but and if I miss you, I'm sorry, but I see Dave Spears, a former school board member out here. Dave, nice to see you. Gina Gregory, a city council members here, Gina. And I see Scott Duke and Sean Miller, both school board members, current ones. And also Superintendent Corey Gibson and Assistant Superintendent Mike Bonner are here. If I missed anyone, I apologize. Some dignitaries here for us. We appreciate all your service and everything that you do for our community. Principal Jamie Lewis is standing by over here too. So busy night in the district, if you've noticed, and we appreciate. I know you guys have to sacrifice to come out here and sacrificed something probably to be here tonight, and we appreciate that. This is an important election. All of them are, I believe, important. This is a good one for us in that we're going to get 3 brand new school board members starting in January, and that's an exciting time for the district. And so it's a pleasure to know these folks up here and to know that they are sacrificing to run for school board. Just a couple of housekeeping notes. I was also got Matt Stam. I was going to introduce Matt. Matt is running for a city council position. He's uncontested. He represents the southeast part of the city, and Matt Stam. And also there's city council member Robert Wilson is in Ward 1, which is the northwest side, and also Dale Kerstetter, which is the northeast side of town. They're running unopposed. And there's nobody in Ward 4, so if you live in the southeast part of the city, you can maybe write your name in and win a spot on the city council. It's happened before. So anyway, a couple of housekeeping notes before we get started. I invite anyone in the audience, if they want to question a particular board member or all the board candidates up here, that there are little index cards on the ledges in front of the second row or second tier seats there, and a pen, and grab those. And write your question down on that, or hold it up, and Erica will come and pick that up for us. And so you're welcome to ask questions that way. And I'll try to get to all of them tonight. And I appreciate Erica. She works for us, she's helping us out tonight. Thank you. And my wife, Lisa, is helping us out with the timing tonight, too. Okay, now let's get started. This is why we're here, right? In this particular school board race, voters can select 3 candidates, and the top 3 vote getters are going to win. So what we want to start with is, and we're going to start with the first candidate here. We're just going to take 2 minutes each to introduce yourself. Tell us why tell us why you're running for school board, and just kind of let us know a little bit about yourself. And we're going to start with Spike Anderson.
Thanks, Chris. My name is Spike Anderson. I'm a proud graduate of Valley Center High School 1989 class, and I've lived in this community for 41 years, and I went to school here for all 13 years of my education. I've been married for 25 years to Kristen, who also went to school here all 13 years. We have a daughter who's in college, a freshman, and a 7th grader at the middle school. I'm a Valley Center guy through and through. I have a real passion for promoting our community. In fact, my business partners get tired of me talking about how Valley Center is the center of the universe. I've been a financial advisor for 17 years, so I feel like I could provide some sound advice to district leaders from a finance perspective. I have lots of family members who have been in education-related positions. My mom was a school nurse for quite a few years at West Elementary. My dad was on the school board. My wife is a former teacher. My sister is a current teacher in Wichita. One of my brothers is a teacher in Andover, and another brother works in the technology department here in the district. I don't have a desire to hold any other higher office, so if elected, this would not be a stepping stone position in politics for me. I think we need solid leadership now more than ever, and I'm willing to offer my guidance. I have 3 goals. 30 seconds remaining already. So I'd like to be an advocate for the students, the teachers and the staff, the various stakeholders in our community. I would like to be a leader for our students and staff and teachers. And I think I've done that through my various volunteer positions with the Community Scholarship Fund, the Community Foundation, and a group called Minnow Cause Ignite Valley Center. We've raised thousands of dollars through that group. Anyway, thank you for considering me for one of the 3 positions for the school board.
Thank you.
My name is Larry Hall. I was born and raised here. I met my wife in kindergarten, believe it or not. We've been married for 3 years now. Have a 1.5-year-old. my parents have a business here. I also have a business, as well as my in-laws have a business here. I'd say my main goal with being a possibility for you guys is being able to bring a younger standpoint. I graduated in 2013 from Valley Center, so I think I was the second graduating class from this building, which was pretty cool. I thought I was going to be the first, but wasn't lucky enough to do that. So I feel like I can bring a younger standpoint to the school board and hopefully lead it to continue to be good. So that's me. I'm pretty simple.
Thank you, Larry.
Good evening. My name is Tennille Holmes. Thank you to the school district and the Ark Valley News for hosting this forum, and hopefully it's informative for all of you. As a lifelong resident, I'm fortunate to call Valley Center my home. I was born, raised, went to all my schooling here, so kindergarten through graduation. I'm also a graduate of Newman University and Wichita State University with a biology and a physician assistant degree. And currently I work in Wichita at a manufacturing company. I also recently completed a term with the Newman University Alumni Board and volunteer through our church and schools as the need arises. So as a parent of 5 children who attend or attended Valley Center schools, education is very important to me. Bringing our children up in the last 2 years have been definitely difficult for not just us, but also the teachers, educators, administrators. And I feel that our teachers did a wonderful job as much as they could, as smooth as they made it as smooth as possible. I feel it's important to have a non-toxic environment, so I would like to bring forth where people can be heard, people have input, and that they don't feel afraid to speak up when there is a problem. Being an effective board member requires collaboration and creative thinking. We need to make sure that our resources are invested in the classrooms and our tax dollars are used effectively. So the most important skills I possess would be the ability to listen, consider all information presented, and develop an action plan while working with other board members. So as a recent member of the Newman University Alumni Board, I learned and developed a lot of skills in how to work with the people on both sides of an issue. As a former substitute teacher, I've learned how important communication is between parents, teachers, and administrators. So I look forward to your questions, and thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Mike McCormick. I am a recently retired teacher here from Valley Center High School. I taught school for 36 years. I did my student teaching here in this school district before that. My wife and I have lived here almost 30 years now, getting close, and she was born and raised in this town, and when it came time for us to want to look at a small town to raise our kids in, Valley Center was the perfect choice. We raised all 3 girls in this school system, and I now have 3 grandchildren that will be soon coming into this school system. I'm very proud of my time of service in this school system for 27 years in this district and 9 in Sedgwick, and I am just eager to serve in a new capacity through the board and giving a fresh look from a first in a first type of account, how as a classroom teacher, some of these policies and things and what is best will be able to affect kids in a very positive way, all kids, not just some, but we want to get all kids, be able to look out for all kids. And I'm very excited, as I said, to represent. I think that the school board is an excellent opportunity of service. It is a service for me, not a political place. And I do want to assure you that I believe it is important for us to, as a board, be able to be fiscally sound, but also represent the needs of our kids and our staff and be able to be accountable with our community.
Thank you. My name is Richard Ranzau, and I am a proud 19 83 graduate of Valley Center High School. I actually grew up out in rural Valley Center out at 85th and Ridge Road until we were about 16. Then we moved to Park City in the area that was still in the school district, and now I live in the Wichita area that's included in the district as well. So I've lived in a variety of parts of the district, and I know the district well. My wife and I have been married for 25 years. 2 of our children have already graduated from Valley Center and are attending K-State, and our oldest one is a senior right now. I'm currently work as a physician assistant. Before that, I was Sedgwick County Commissioner, as many of you know, for this area and a little bit larger area for the district. So I have knowledge and expertise in the area of medicine as well as public health and government. When I was a county commissioner, I got a reputation of finding out the facts and getting things done and working with people, and I'd like to bring that to this board to do as well. I think we've had some challenging times, and we're going to have more going forward. And additionally, I'm retired from the Army Reserves to include service in the Persian Gulf and Iraq Wars. I have 3 degrees from Wichita State to include secondary education, mathematics, physician assistant studies, and my last one is in Spanish. So moving forward, I think we really need to get the focus back on student achievement. I think we need to be laser focused on student achievement and going forward to try and raise our performance and scores for the students to prepare them for college and career. I look forward to the opportunity to answer further questions, and I ask for your vote on November 2nd.
Thank you.
Hi, I am Lisa Robles. I grew up in small town Iowa. My dad was a teacher. In fact, he was my algebra and computer teacher when I was in high school. I graduated from Nottoway Valley High School in Greenfield, Iowa in 2000. I attended Emmaus Bible College in Dubuque, Iowa, and received the Bible certificate there. When I moved to Wichita, I ran my own daycare classroom at Sunrise Christian Academy. I was assistant volleyball coach at the same school in 2007. I have a background in banking with customer service, and I have also studied music. I am married. I have 3 children in the district. We moved from Wichita to Valley Center in 2002 because of the good reputation of the school system. Recently, I've had some families that are 2nd or 3rd generation Valley Center graduates and found out that they have had to pull their children out of the district. They're homeschooling or sending them to private schools, and I wonder why. What have we pulled away from, and how do we get back there? For me, I don't believe it's right to stand on the sidelines and complain. I needed to take action. I want to be part of the conversation. I will listen, I will research, I will ask questions. I will respectfully defend traditional values and focus on the basics of education. I will allow parents to make medical decisions and shape their children's worldview. The school's job is to educate, not to create a world where everyone thinks the same. Let's be an example of how different people and backgrounds can work together. I would love to be on your team and represent you on the school board.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Michelle Van. I have been an educator for over 25 years. I worked in Wichita Public School, then I matriculated from there to Tabor College, and then I just recently, most recently, was at Friends University. I have lived in Valley Center for about 25 years, and we kind of lived on the outskirts, and for a long time I wasn't really active in what was happening because my husband and I pastor a church in Wichita. But I was invited to be a part of the strategic team, and as I became more involved with that strategic planning over the last year and a half, I really began to see things that I had never seen before as far as it pertained to being in Valley Center. And so as I really began to work with that, I began to say, hey, I want to be more involved. I want to do more with my community. I love where I live, but I want to be more involved. I don't want to sit on the sides, pretty much like she just said. I don't want to sit on the sidelines and just watch it happen. I want to be a part of that. And so I have real strong passion when it comes to mental health. I know that a lot of our students really struggled getting through the pandemic, and how we work and how we function is always part of that mental health piece. And so I understand that, and I really want to push that. I really want us to really look at our teachers, their mental health, and what is happening with them, as well as we look at our students. I know that all of us would love our children to go to college, but all of them are not college bound. So how do we help them get trades? How do we help them do the things that they need to do in high school so that they walk out the door ready to be ever citizens of this community?
All right. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, now we're going to shift gears a little bit and ask some specific questions. Again, if you have any questions, write them on the card and hold them up, and Erica will bring it or come get them. But we're going to just start with put a couple of issues on the table right now because I'm sure many people want to know how you all stand on them. And CRT and COVID, all right? All the letters you love to talk about. So COVID-19 and critical race theory. Let's start with critical race theory. Even though the Kansas Department of Education says that is not part of state standards for public schools in Kansas, some people want to be sure it isn't being taught in our schools. What are your thoughts on critical race theory as it pertains to K through 12 public schools? And should local school boards take a stand one way or another on the issue? And we're going to start with Larry this time. Larry, you have the fortune of starting this one.
All righty. So, from my understanding is that the critical race theory, it essentially, to me, is that the races from, not white, they're essentially going back in time and saying that you owe us this or you owe us that. And, I think in Valley Center, we all have a pretty good chance at a good education, as well as the chance to have the opportunities that are put in front of us. So do I necessarily believe in it? I don't think so. But that's, as a board member, we're all going to collaborate and we'll decide from there.
Okay. Danielle?
CRT was a theory that was actually developed for Harvard Law students. It is not meant to be taught in the K through 12 audience. I don't feel that it belongs in our school system. Now, granted, you're going to get a few here and there, but we have to deal with those by a case-by-case situation. It's deeper than a classroom level, so we do have to look at each case. I believe those subjects don't belong there, and they belong to the parents to talk to the students about. We need to teach our children more about respect and history and to think critically, but not to impress our beliefs on the children or to teach the children what to think or how they should feel. We can't raise up one group of individuals or children by belittling another group of children.
Thanks, Mike.
I am not in favor of this as being a part of a district's curriculum, mainly because of the fact that it is very deep. It is so vast as far as ideals. It's beyond something that can be implemented at a K-12 level. I am for teaching all parts of history, and I think that we do include a lot of that in what we're doing. And I'm also in a very strong agreement that we keep maintaining our zero tolerance on bullying and prejudice against anyone, whether it be race, sex, any of those. And I think that our teachers have enough on their plate without trying to add a whole new curriculum in place. And basically, we can teach the values of kindness and respect for others, not as a separate curriculum, but as a daily part of our humanity. There you go.
So I do oppose critical race theory, and I actually have language for a policy that I would recommend that we implement and approve as a board to prevent that the ideas and principles within critical race theory not be taught. It's not just about a curriculum. It's about individual teachers, pushing this in different ways. It doesn't have to be part of a curriculum to be pushed, and that's why we need to implement a policy. I mean, children shouldn't be taught that they're inherently racist because of the color of their skin, or that hard work is racist, or that they're responsible for past sins of, past generations. And so I think we need to take a stand on this. It is happening all around the country. I did ask the board to take a stand in May, and they've not yet done so at this point. And I think it's particularly troubling when a school here in Kansas tried to implement a policy. The Kansas Association of School Boards sent an attorney there to try and stop them to do it. So that is very troubling for me, since this district is a member of that organization.
Critical race theory is a legal academic framework centered on the idea that racism is systemic. In order for it to be systemic, it means it goes beyond individual bias and means it is written into the laws of our society. I do not think that mindset is very able for people to work together when they're taught that. They are taught that these are the oppressed and these are the oppressors. And workplaces that have tried to implement those kinds of things have found that it was counterproductive to being able to work together, and I don't think that it would be helpful to our students to teach them that.
While there are some systemic racism issues, those are not necessarily the things that we need to be talking about in public school. Yes, racism is real. Yes, racism happens. But that is not what we're teaching in history. I was a social studies teacher for a very long time. One of the things that we really want to focus on is the historical data. What happened? We can't whitewash and act like things did not happen. History is history, and we must bring history and have those conversations about historical happenings, that we don't have to get into the theories, and we don't have to get into personal beliefs, but history is history, and we cannot pretend like it doesn't exist. And so as we look at how do we deal with critical race theory, it's not something that should be done in K-12, because it is not something that is a curriculum. It is not something that is even appropriate for K-12.
All right. Ms. Pike.
So my feeling is that this concept is very interesting because it's even hard to define. If you would ask the seven of us what it is, we probably would get 7 different answers. But my feeling is that it should be dealt with at the state level. And I think part of your question was, should we deal with it? Our current board is dealing with it, or should be dealing with it. And the 3 of us elected will also have to, have our influence. But you can't erase history, and we need to learn from it. And the school board would have to do their job of interpreting what the state asks and mandates.
All right, thank you. Big omission here. There is an 8th candidate, Sarah Osterman, and she couldn't be with us tonight. She's out of town with her family, so she sends her regrets. But it's Sarah Osterman is the 8th candidate. So, okay, COVID, masks, vaccinations, quarantine. My question would be, what should the school district do to keep students in school while trying to prevent COVID-19 outbreaks within schools? And we're starting with Tennille this time.
Well, in the past year and a half, the pandemic has shown us that we are not foolproof. We can't make decisions for everything and cover everything. To keep children it's hard to walk that fine line, but I believe it should be up to the parents. So we should, yes, but how do you keep healthy children at home? If our immune systems are working, we should be able to go back to school. Yes, COVID is something new, it's alarming, and it's open, but we should be able to parent our children. We have to look at the complaints and the fears of others and try to work together and collaborate, but also work with our children so that they understand what is going on.
Thank you. Mike?
Yes, I think that the mask policy that was implemented last month from the board, building by building, week by week, is probably the most fair way to handle this. I believe we're getting close to being out of it. When you look at the statistics, we're getting less and less. I do believe that vaccines are a good thing, but it is a personal choice. I think that you need to consult your doctor to know what's best for you. And as far as herd immunity goes, if I don't think that we should force the vaccine on someone, then we also shouldn't force herd immunity on school system as well, on kids, because we don't know who has a compromised immune system and who doesn't. I mean, we've had kids in here fighting cancer and trying to go to school. So it's really not fair to force that on them just as much as to force vaccines. Those are personal choices that parents and students make after consulting their doctors at what's best for them, and I encourage you to consult your doctor, not the internet.
Thank you.
Yeah, so there are two sides of this. Some people say we should wear masks and force people to get vaccinated, and other people say that we shouldn't force people to wear masks. I think we need to get to a point where we have mutual respect for both positions and an empowerment for parents. I think the only way to do that is to make masks truly optional. Okay, I don't support the current policy because it's not truly optional. It's creating chaos in our schools, sending kids home unnecessarily who don't have the disease. All 4 disease that we know in the medical community is less harmful to kids than the flu. That's per the CDC, that's per the data. So I think we need to empower parents and students to make that decision. But more importantly, the vaccines and masks, particularly vaccines, I'm concerned. I mean, it's not just that I oppose vaccine mandates for the kids. I will not support, as a board member, I will not vote or will not follow through with any mandate from the local, state, or federal government that says we have to force our kids or staff to get mandated or get vaccinated for this, because I think it's coming.
Lisa?
I am also against any kind of mandates. I think it should be up to the parents to choose. People get sick from the flu, people get sick from COVID, and it is, for the most part, not had a huge effect on the children. And I think medical decisions need to be made by the parents who are consulting their physicians. Also, I would like to say that we need to recognize natural immunity. Once you've been infected, you are resistant to reinfection. And if we would recognize that, we wouldn't have so many that are high-risk quarantined. If they would be considered a low risk and able to go to school, I think it would help all of our numbers and help keep kids in school.
Thank you. Michelle?
So as a person who has had a couple of family members who have died, and I know a child who has died from COVID, I have a great concern. Do I feel like everybody should be forced to wear a mask? No. Do I feel like everybody should be forced to be vaccinated? No. I do feel like that should be your choice. However, when we come into public settings, how do we bring that together? As Mr. McCormick said, that, being able to gauge that week by week, moment by moment, that's not necessarily something that the school board can do. That's going to be something that's going to have to happen by buildings, that's going to have to be something that's going to happen on a smaller scale, mainly because every building is a little bit different. Every population is a little bit different. Everybody is a little bit different. And I think that it's hard, kind of puts us in a situation where we're trying to put a big blanket over the whole system. And so I think, as we move forward, we really just have to continue to evaluate as we look at the present data.
All right, Spike?
Chris, I'm glad you asked that question. Thank you.
Yeah.
I enjoy my liberties as much as everyone else. I think what happened to our country and the world was we didn't know what was going to happen. So we have to protect each other. And if we have to wear a mask, like someone said, if we have to do that, then let's do it. It was awkward at first. Now it's just commonplace. I'm not an advocate for forcing vaccines, but I will tell you, like Ms. Van, I had a business partner die from COVID, and that will change your perspective.
So, As a son of a nurse and husband of a nurse, hearing the stories from the actual COVID unit is quite eye-opening. I don't necessarily like masks, but I do wear one whenever we need to. I think the current school board policies are effective, as you know, we haven't had crazy shutdowns or anything as far as I'm aware of this year. So obviously something's working. Do a lot of people have vaccines? Yes. I mean, I'm fully vaccinated myself, for what it's worth. Do I necessarily believe the vaccine should be forced? No, I don't. But I do believe that it does help. So.
Okay. And just real quick, everybody will, forgot to do it on the first question, but have 30 seconds. If anybody wants to add anything to that, we'll give you an additional 30 seconds. Just raise your hand and we can do that. If not, we can move on. Okay? All right, thanks. Got a question from an audience member here. It sounds like a simple yes or no answer to it, and we're going to start with Mike. Have you received funding or endorsement from the NEA, KNEA, or any PAC or group affiliated with these organizations? Mike?
No. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Richard?
My bank account can prove that.
No.
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 I did not receive any contributions for my campaign.
Nope.
And no.
Okay. Thank you. And moving on. We're going to start with Richard on this one. As a school board member, what would be your top priority?
My top priority is student achievement. I mean, that's what we're here about, okay? If you look at the state scores as far as college and career ready, I mean, we get the lowest rating possible. There's gold, silver, bronze, and copper, and we get the lowest level possible. Last year, let's see, 22%, around 22% of the high school was college and career ready in math and English, and about 38% were college and career ready for science. That means 60 to 80% are not, by definition, per state standards, college and career ready when they graduate. And I want to find out why. I have lots of questions about this. Some of it may be systemic, some of it may be the criteria. For example, you can be on grade level, which is level 2, but still not be college and career ready, which doesn't make sense to me. I mean, if you're on grade level, shouldn't you be college and career ready? So I have lots of questions. I want to focus on student achievement.
All right, thank you.
My top priority is protecting the innocents. These are children, and I think sometimes we get caught up in trying to be progressive and pushing issues, and we need to get back to basics. So education needs to be the primary focus. One of the other things is just listening so that we can work together. I can listen to the other side and try to find middle ground, and working with integrity and transparency.
I would agree that college and career ready is definitely a focus, but I would also push that career ready, because there is a real piece in which our students should be doing dual credit, or if college is their choice. But I also think that we really do a disservice for our students who college is not where they want to go. And we don't give them enough credit for doing the things that they need to do to actually be career ready. So I want us to make sure that as we're looking at how do we help students be more well-rounded, that we're helping them to be college and career ready. So that it's not just that we're pushing everybody to college, because college is not, I have 3 degrees, so it's not that I don't think that education is important, of course, but I think that there are some kids that college is not their focus, and it's not where they're going to head. And so we've got to make sure that it's college and career. And how do we make sure those career pieces are there?
Thank you.
So 2 weeks ago, I called every building principal and the director of the co-op, the special ed co-op, and I talked about the challenges. I asked them about their challenges. Every one of them talked about getting back to normal. That's my goal. Teachers, principals, teachers are doing everything seemingly except teach. And right now, we just have to get back to what we are hired for. The second thing is we have a teacher shortage. We don't even have all of our teaching positions filled. And we need to take care of that and not have, unfilled positions or unqualified people teaching. So that would be my first priority, is getting back to normal as quickly as possible.
So you look around and you see all the nice buildings, you see, happy smiling faces for the most part. I would say my number one goal is just to bring a younger perspective to the school board and keep, the current school board's done a great job at leading our kids to, on the right path, in my opinion. And my goal is to keep that going. And ultimately I'm going to have kids in the district at some point, so I want to make it the best that I possibly can.
My top priority would be support for our teachers and administration. Supporting the teachers and the administration then in turn supports our children. And like Spike said, getting back to normal through supporting those teachers and children. And how do we get those teachers to stay? Incentivize maybe the tenured teachers. We hear how we incentivize new teachers, but how can we help tenured teachers stay and keep them here? We need to investigate how to keep our teachers and the tenured teachers. There is a Kansas Teacher Retention Initiative through the KASB and Emporia State University that maybe we need to look into and investigate how to access that initiative to keep our teachers here.
Thank you.
Definitely my priority is kids first, and particularly going forward, getting back to normal, as Spike said, requires a lot of things down the road. We just came out of a very good evaluation and accreditation from the state, and we've got to start a new cycle of that for the next 4 years, so that's going to be very in-depth. We're going to have to find out maybe what kind of educational ground did we lose during the COVID years. Testing did not happen last year because of the COVID situation. State testing was suspended. So we're going to have to find out where those are. Particularly reading at the younger level, we are very adamant about that by the 4th grade we want them reading on level. When you go look at some of the reports on the internet, you'll find anything that supports any kind of status you want. According to U.S. News in 2021, our rankings were very good for college and career readiness. College and career readiness is not just test scores. It is the whole package. It is mental health, education, social stability, and we've got to think of that kid in the whole roundabout way.
Okay. 30 seconds for anybody that wants to add anything? Okay, moving on. Remember, if you have some questions that you want answered, raise them up and Eric will pick them up for you. It's a question from somebody in the audience, two-part question, and we're going to start with Lisa. Describe your relationship with Dr. Corey Gibson and describe your relationship with building principals. So, got a minute?
I have had limited interaction with Dr. Gibson so far, but every time that I reached out to him by email, he always responded. I was actually super impressed. Like during the pandemic, I know he was slammed with all sorts of things, and he was always able to respond to me, which I always appreciated. We don't always necessarily agree on everything, but we are always respectful and able to work together. I feel like that is a good relationship at this point. With the building principals, same things. I've had some problems at the middle school with the teacher and was able to go in and talk to the principal there, and we had positive interaction. I have had some time to talk to Mr. Grummert, and that was good as well. I think just being able to listen and have respectful communication is one of my strong points and has served me well, being able to get to know this administration.
Thank you.
So I would just say that as far as relationship, I don't know that I necessarily have a relationship in the sense of relationship. I believe that every time I have asked a question, I've gotten a great answer. I have gotten a very timely answer from everyone that I've had a question from, whether that was building principals and/or from administration. And so that would be my response to that.
So my relationship with Dr. Gibson is, I would describe it as social. He's involved in a charity that I'm involved in, so we know each other socially. Although every time we do something, he's very supportive of our initiatives. And I do appreciate the communication that his office provides. And I drive by his house twice a day. So my relationship with the building principals, I go to church with a couple of them. I drive by one of his houses every day, twice, again.
Stalker, I guess.
The middle school principal, or the intermediate school principal, we have kids the same age, so we see each other at social and sporting events. But all the principals I talked to a couple weeks ago are very professional.
Kind of hitting on the relationship, kind of like what she had said down there. I wouldn't necessarily say I have a relationship for what relationship is, but Corey and Jamie, they were here whenever I was in school, and Corey handed me my diploma, or Jamie, one of them did. So as far as relationship, that's really as far as it goes. I mean, every time I talk to them, they're always very respectful, and vice versa. So that I wouldn't necessarily say I have a relationship, but you know, I know who they are and they know who I am. So that's that.
As for Mr. Gibson, I have, basically like others have mentioned, I have no real relationship with him. I would call myself an acquaintance. I have emailed him a couple times, and he has been pretty timely in responding. And then as the principals, obviously I have 5 children, so I'm in contact with most of them, or I know most of them. Plus, as being a substitute, I've talked to almost every one of them. Now there's 2 of them that are new, and I have introduced myself to them, but I do not know them on a one-to-one basis. So I have no qualms, or it doesn't, I will reach out to them and I will talk to them, I email them, I don't step back, so I would be one to just come right out front and talk to them if I needed to.
Well, I probably had the most unique perspective in the fact that I've worked here with Dr. Gibson, Jamie Lewis, and some of the other principals that I've been involved with my kids. And I can honestly tell you that from my perspective, I've had a lot of administrators over 36 years. And there's been a lot of really bad ones doing very secretive things. There's never been more support for kids. Every meeting we have has got an empty chair in it. You're to envision that that is for a student. Students are first. Staff is second as well. They care very much about making sure it comes down the pike from our administration. Take care of yourself, take care of your family, because if you're not there, if you're not 100% there, then you're not going to be very good for the kids. And so there is a mental and physical well-being from the students and for the staff as well. And I'm very respectful of what I've seen them do in public formats.
Well, my relationship with the superintendent and principals has been as a parent and also as a commissioner, and for the most part, they've been supportive with IEPs, et cetera. But I'm not going to lie, there has been exceptions several years ago when my wife and I tried to do some things with our children in IEPs. I felt like I was misled by the senior leadership on multiple occasions, and a lot of roadblocks were put up. There was only one administrator that actively supported our children. Contrast that with the teachers who knew my kids and advocated for them up to a point, but they were not fully empowered. They made that very clear. They couldn't speak their mind 100%, and that always troubled me from that point on, because I didn't feel empowered as a parent, and I didn't believe that the teachers were totally empowered as well. So we have had that history, and I'm not going to shy away from that.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Okay. We did start with Lisa, right? Any 30 seconds for anyone? No? Okay. Got another question sent here to us. This looks like maybe a yes or no question, but you might expound on it. But as a school board member, you would be responsible for spending taxpayer dollars. The allocation of these funds are critical to the success of our district. Have any of you cost our district money in order to push a political or personal agenda in the past year, personally or professionally? And yeah, that's the question. And we'll start on the end with Michelle.
No.
Okay.
Not that I can think of.
Not that I'm aware of either.
No, I have not.
No, I have not.
No, I have not.
No, I have not.
Okay. Any other? That was quick and easy. All right. We'll move on. Let's talk about growth a little bit. It's one of the areas that Valley Center has been blessed with over the last decade, is that we've been growing, except for last year, like everyone else, it dipped a little bit, but it seems to be rebounding. And as a matter of fact, second largest enrollment in district's history this year, and the largest was, what, a couple years ago? Question, a yes or no question, then I want you to expound on it. Do you want the district to grow? We're starting up here with Spike. Do you want the district to grow? Why or why not?
I would like to see our district grow, but I would like to see it be controlled growth. I think you've seen some growing pains of districts around in our county, around Wichita, who've maybe grown too fast. So I really like the controlled growth that Valley Center offers.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to see it grow and continue to grow. I do think the Valley Center is pretty fiscally responsible, and we might have an opportunity for a new school coming soon. So I think that, like Spike said, controlled growth is good.
Yes, I would like to see us to continue to grow, but like we have talked about, it needs to be controlled, but we also need to fill the positions that we have open to be able to support that growth. So we have to look at the base and build it from the bottom up.
Would very much like to encourage our growth. We have been slow and steady. I still don't see us like exploding. I know we've called for 250 new houses in the area, but it's still not going to be tomorrow. I think it's going to be down the road a little bit. I think the board's action this past Monday and getting a firm, an independent firm, to look at growth over the next 5 years, who has been successful in the area schools within 97% accuracy, so that you know what to plan for down the road, is a very smart decision, because that gives us the opportunity to prepare and to know what kind of steady growth and what kind of explosions and things to look for. I don't think we should panic. Every time you hear the word growth, people think bond issues, new buildings. I don't think we need to panic on that. That's something that voters would have a decision on down the road. I think it's been slow and steady. I think that we will still be able to keep up and keep a slow and steady pace, and it's always encouraging to have new people in our community.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, I think growth is good in general. I think it's good to keep it controlled. And another question is at what point is growth enough? Can you get too big? I know in the private sector and in government, you can have entities that are so big that become inefficient. And so we have to be careful with that. I don't know what that number is for a school district. I do know that several years ago, there was a study done for the Wichita School District, and they actually recommended that it be cut into 4 different school districts because it was so big and so inefficient. Now, obviously, we're not close to that size, but obviously somewhere there is perhaps an ideal size. I think right now we're good size and we're managing everything well, and some growth would be appropriate. And so one of the questions I think we have to ask in the future, is there a maximum size that we think would be best as far as efficiency and productivity for our students?
Yeah, I think growth is a sign that we're doing something right in this district. We're still attracting people to it, and it attracted me to it, and those are all good things and sign of a healthy system. So those are all good. Yeah, we do need to be careful, though, about making sure we have the right teaching staff, and I know there's like a para shortage and substitute teachers and all those things, so we need to be able that we still have the adults that can support the students that we are bringing in.
So I think that predictable and planned growth is what we would definitely want to see. When we say controlled growth, that kind of scares me, because how do we control that? If our city is growing, if our city is vibrant, if our strategic plan for our city works the way it's supposed to, then people should want to come here. People should want to come and live in Valley Center and give their money and give their taxes and give all of their being to being here and to making this a viable city. So as our city grows, then our school system should grow and that infrastructure would be there. So I would say that we want to have predicted and planned growth so that as we grow, we also create that infrastructure.
Okay. 30 seconds for anyone? All right. This next question, we'll start with Larry. Continue with the topic of growth. As we do expand the numbers, there are possibly some difficult decisions to be made in the future. At some point, and this is a question that I'm always curious what people think about, but that at some point the district may have to consider either an expansion of this building here or possibly creating a 2 high school system. You know, so like I want to know, do you favor a 1 high school district such as Derby or a 2 high school district like Mays and Andover and Goddard? And we'll start with Larry.
So I think that it has its benefits for both sides. Me personally, I would much rather have just one high school. This building was built with the option to add on to it. So I do think that that's a possibility in the future. It keeps everybody in the same place. We're not rivaling against each other or anything like that. You know, there's not, well, this side of Valley Center is better than the other. It keeps us all cohesive and in one unit.
So we know we're growing, and that's what we like to see. As for high school and adding on, we are going to have to possibly think outside the box. We know that we can add on here, but we also have to look growing from the bottom up again. You have to look at other places. We're outgrowing not just the high school, but we're outgrowing the middle school. And then we're also, I think we're pretty close to outgrowing all of our elementary schools. So we need to look at our projected growth, like we have said before, and we have to look at where can we add on and make it the most fiscally sound, but also feasible and best for our children. So I support the 1 high school preferably, and hopefully adding on to this high school, unless we get really big. But if you are looking at putting 500 students in one school and 500 students in another, I don't feel that that's fiscally sound.
Kind of the easy answer to that question right now for me is 1 high school. We are a small 5A school. We are not a medium size or large size, so we've got a lot of growth to do before we get to that point. And as far as we do need to monitor that we know that this building was made to be able to be added onto. The middle school has probably been added onto as much as can be. And so we'll have to address those issues as they arise, and not only new buildings, but we also have to keep in mind more teachers so that we have more classes, and particularly as we grow, we can hopefully then lower class sizes or keep them manageable so more kids can get one-to-one attention. But I absolutely, one high school. We've got as a small 5A school and a coach for nearly 30 years, I'd like to be a little bigger so we can compete with those big private 5As.
Yeah, I agree with what's said before, really. I support one high school. Obviously, we have to be looking forward as far as other schools. One of the things we need to keep in mind is I know there's some people in Park City. There's a lot of kids there, and then there may be some more growth in that area because of Amazon. They're interested in having an elementary. If we have to do one at some point, maybe a little closer to them. It's just something to keep in mind, but obviously those will be some challenges that we face as we move forward, but I do support one high school.
I also support one high school. I think that is the best way to stay together as a community. I think they've done really good jobs of restructuring buildings so far and trying to get everybody to fit. And yeah, we have to watch the student-to-teacher ratio, but one high school would be my preference.
As we look at predictable and planned growth, we would build that and build the infrastructure as necessary. So if we, don't necessarily need to have 2 high schools, there's no reason to just build it because we can. I grew up in Ark City, and I know that, some people will go, woo, boo, because they are a rival, but we had one high school, and it allowed for camaraderie. It allowed for people to get to know each other. It allowed for people to be able to have lifelong friends from elementary school all the way until they graduated. And so in a community, having those lifelong friends and those lifelong relationships, I believe, are very important. And so having one high school really does foster that community and that small town feeling of just being together and graduating together and really having relationship.
Thanks. Spike?
I would be a strong proponent of having one high school, keeping one high school. I think that I'm a community guy, and I think that, as she said, builds camaraderie and doesn't tear families apart. So I would definitely be an advocate of just one high school.
All right. Okay. 30 seconds for anyone there? Okay. One more question about growth. And periodically, there's some board discussion about open enrollment. Over the years, we've seen that. The district right now has kind of a limited open enrollment policy where it allows out-of-district students in very specific situations, which has allowed, as you touched on, some controlled growth. What are your thoughts on open enrollment? Would you be in favor of loosening it up a little? What do you think about the current practice? And just in general, what are your thoughts about open enrollment? And we're starting with Tennille.
For open enrollment, I believe that what we have right now works for us. I don't feel that we should really change it. If you open it, you've got a lot of things that you're looking outside, and we keep our community. I'm not against change, don't get me wrong, but I feel that if we can keep the people in the city or in our district, then we can keep the community together and not cause or have a lot of camaraderie among ourselves. If we open in the enrollment, other than the case-by-case situation, we could open ourselves up to some other uncontrolled growth also.
I agree that with the open enrollment, I think how we have it right now allows us to be a little more controlled with it, and we don't let it get out of hand. I think that we need what's working now is working, so we need to look at that and really kind of keep that the same. I'm in a unique position because more than a few times we've had kids and their families come up here, and we're deciding which community to move into, and looked over our schools, and even came because they heard our performing arts and they wanted to audition in here, and so they would choose us to move to, which I think is a really good move into our district. So as far as the enrollment, open enrollment, I really would just I think what we're doing works, and we can use that a little at a time.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think what we're doing is working, and I think we have a good reputation, and people do move into the community, I think, because they want to be here, and I support that.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think the open enrollment policy is good, and yeah, we need to be careful, and a case-by-case basis seems to be working well.
I would agree. I don't think that we need to change it any. If people want to be a part of our district, then find yourself a space and live here, and so that your taxes help to build whatever the future looks like.
I'm in favor of the current practice of the way we have our open enrollment policy. I mean, I think if you open up the district, you just open yourselves up for more headaches, and I think we've got a pretty good handle on our district now, and I don't see any reason to change it, at least not overwhelmingly.
So what's in place right now, I think, does work pretty well. I talk to people all the time about wanting to come to Valley Center because of the school district. And to hit on the point down there of, just find a place and move here. Well, that's not always possible. I talk to a lot of people that they want to be in Valley Center schools, but, the prices of houses here are going up every day. So I talk to a lot of people, well, let's get in Park City and get in Valley Center's district in Park City. Well, I think maybe open it up a little bit more for those Park City folks would possibly be beneficial for our district. But I do believe that what we have in place right now works. And if the rest of the board is open for a little bit of change, I don't think it could be a bad thing.
All right, that was it. Okay, we're going to start with Mike on this one. Going to circle back a little bit. With the spring 2020 shutdown of schools and the remote learning hybrid classes last year, some students have fallen behind academically. We've touched on that, as well as socially and emotionally. This week, they hired some after-school and before-school tutors, which is a step toward kind of catching some of these students up and giving them the extra help. What are some ideas and thoughts that you have that could help in bringing these students that need some additional assistance? That was some of that learning was lost during the last year and a half. And we'll start with Mike.
Yes, we are just noticing, and like I said, it'll take a while. This is not an easy fix, because until we have a standardized testing, that'll be some of the finding out some where those drops are. But obviously the tutoring, the before school and after school tutoring, I don't know if anybody knows about that, but that is provided, I believe, through some of the COVID relief money, and that is something that needs to continue, because that's something that kids can use to their benefit and get caught up. I know in the past year, we've done videotaping of lessons and had that available for kids to go home and watch. If they didn't quite get that lesson that was taught that day, they can review it at home. So there's some other possibilities. And, as we look through the social emotional needs as well, we cannot ignore that. When kids find success, they won't give up, and we want to emphasize their success and be able to help them to not give up. And that is something we'll have to fight for a while. It is going to be a long process, and we'll have to be patient and try new and inventive ways.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing we need to do is what somebody mentioned earlier, is we need to get back to normal. That means we need to end the current COVID policy of sending kids home who don't have the disease. This sending kids home repeatedly, some kids are being sent home repeatedly for a week to 10 days, and A students are becoming F students. So if we want to get back to normal, then we need to stop doing that. The only kids who need to stay home are those kids who are sick, just like it was with the flu, okay? Because we're continuing to exacerbate the problem. We create, emotional, physical, and educational problems in our children when we do this. And it's counterproductive. So let's stop that and let's get back to normal. That would go a long ways with the students and the teachers, kids being in there, being happy, smiling, laughing. I think that would make a big difference, and that we have to get that right first.
Just coming out of the conferences that we've done recently, I think that the teachers have been doing a great job trying to help struggling students. I have a child with a 504 plan. The teachers are very aware of that, and they tell me that she was really good at advocating for herself, and they were open to meeting with her during seminar. They email, they check in, the communication is good. I think the teachers are working really hard to try and pay attention to the students that could be struggling, and you know what, she's doing really well. So that's really exciting to see. I would also agree with Richard that if we weren't quarantining healthy students, it would help some of those students who really need that face-to-face instruction from their students, and would again advocate for natural immunity to be recognized.
So I love before and after school tutoring. I think those are, phenomenal things and phenomenal ways in which to help. As we are not done with COVID, and may not be done with it for a while, I think we also have to look at how do we help students really begin to know what are some other resources to help them. So is it Khan Academy? Is it, that they're doing tutoring or remediation in some smaller groups in some very different ways. So I think there's a lot of options as to help them. I think Mr. McCormick said that, because we didn't have state assessments, we don't have those scores, but there are some smaller diagnostic approaches that we can do, diagnostic tests that we can take so that we can see what are the breaks, what are the gaps, and be able to just go in and kind of pinpoint those gaps and really help students fill those gaps so that they are successful. The more successful they are, the more they're going to want to be at school.
Thank you.
I think what's been implemented so far is fantastic, but I think the onus has to be on the student to want to learn. And it's got to be pushed by parents. Teachers can't make kids learn. I'd be willing to bet that most every teacher in our district would be willing to help a student outside the classroom. They love students who want to learn. So I'd be willing to listen to other ideas that come about to help our students get back to normal.
So I know whenever I was in high school, if I was struggling and if tutoring was available, I didn't necessarily take advantage of it. So I think that's something to hit on. What's those key indicators that if a student's fallen behind, when they hadn't normally fallen behind in the past, what are we looking at there? I think that does kind of hit on, the parents have to be involved with their children as well, and be able to say, hey, what's going on here? You're not normally like this. So then we can get them the help that they need.
That we need to get back to normal, like a bunch have said. I have a prime example. My high schooler has been out 3 weeks out of the last 8 weeks because he has been a close contact. He has not had COVID. He is my struggler, so he needs to be in school. How can we make that happen? Our teachers will bend over backwards for these students. The parents need to know that that is an option. I have heard multiple times in those 3 weeks, the student needs to contact the teacher. You have high schoolers and middle schoolers trying to contact a teacher. Some parents are not there. Some parents choose not to be there. So our teachers reach out as much as they can, but we need to find a common ground to be able to get these kids to stay in school. And maybe we need to make those options more vivid and open and seen. I know about them, but I'm very involved.
And that's where we started. Yeah. All right, thank you. You want 30 seconds, Mike? No.
I'm trying to decide where to starting next.
Yeah. Okay. I've got a two-part question for you. So being a board member requires a time commitment and a knowledge of the position and a knowledge of current topics. How can you assure voters that you'll be able to devote sufficient time to your responsibilities as a board member, number one? Also, what have you done to prepare yourself for this position? And we're going to start with Richard this time.
Well, all I can say is when I was in previous elected position, I spent my time finding out facts, working hard, understanding the issues. I took the job very, very seriously, and I plan on doing the same thing here. I did not make this decision lightly. I know what the political service is all about, and I know it's a part-time job, but I talked that over with my wife, and I'll have the time to do it. I've already started looking at a variety of things, of finances and some of the things, some of the planning that's happened in the past and what we're looking forward towards to do in the future, and I understand that it takes a time commitment, and I'm committed to do that.
I definitely think I have the time to commit to this job. I am a stay-at-home mom most of the time. I work 1 day a week right now, so I definitely can research things, and I have done so on some of these issues that we've already discussed today. So yeah, I think I definitely have the time to do it, and I've also spent some time talking to teachers, administrators, former administrators, and gotten their perspective on things, and have been a listening ear to others with issues in the district. So yeah, I'm committed to being there and helping people with their issues.
So I have the time and the dedication to do that. As an educator, I believe it is our job to always be ever learning as we share what our knowledge is. And so I, as a candidate and as a person who would sit on that board, would educate myself, but also make sure that I am available to those that I serve.
Thanks.
So I am prepared to make time for this job and to devote my energy to being a good representative of the voters. My wife may disagree, but I think I'm a good listener. And what have I done to prepare for this position? Like I mentioned before, I've been talking to the principals, I talk to teachers. I'm aware of what's going on. I try to be aware. I grew up the son of a newspaper man, so I was made aware of current events and what's important to our district leaders. And I've been attending the board meetings probably for the last 5 or 6 months just to see what the topics are.
So as a self-employed person, I've got a team of guys behind me that fully support me as well in this endeavor. So as far as the time commitment, that's not going to be an issue, as well as a family support system that's second to none. So I mean, the time commitment is not going to be any issue at all. I mean, my father-in-law is on the board right now, so he's kind of filled me in on what the time commitment looks like. And sitting down talking to my wife, we've agreed that we can make it happen. So that's it.
Thanks.
As for the time commitment, yes, I do have 5 kids and I have a husband, but my husband is very supportive. So I will make the time and committed to the board. And then I have educated myself. I've been attending board meetings over the last few months. Even before that, the summer gets a little crazy, but I will make the time to go there. And then during the school year, I've tried to attend as many as possible. And then I have educated myself on the topics that they are discussing, plus talking to many parents, teachers, and administration, and asking them what their feedback and what their top priorities are. And I'm dedicated to the community, so I would like to see it grow, but also see all of us work together.
Well, being newly retired, except for having my wife's dinner ready at 6, I've got quite a bit of time. I have really been rejuvenated and excited in this time, preparing for a board election and preparing to look at education from a different standpoint, and have had the time to do that, look at COVID, to look at things that have affected and will affect our schools in the future, to look at our accreditation system. And that has been a new regeneration. And I'm very excited for that, very passionate for that, and I'm eager to serve on the board.
Okay, and that's where we started. 30 seconds for anyone? Okay, before I get to my next question, First of all, if you have any questions, please feel free to fill one of those cards out and hand it off. I did want to take a couple of seconds here to recognize the outgoing board members. They still have a little bit of work to do over the next couple of months. But Bart Balthazar, I know, is here. Bart, the senior board member, stand up. Bart's been on the school board since 2005. He doesn't have kids, and he's still dedicated. Well, thank you. And I don't know if Brad Barber's here or not. Brad? Yeah, stand up, Brad. Brad has been a board member since 2009. Done it all. Thanks, Brad. And then Jason Ruffner. Is Jason here tonight? Yeah. He's probably got kiddos running around doing sports and stuff, so he's been a board member since 2018. But anyway, I just wanted to recognize those folks, and seems like you guys have been institutions. I've been to every school board meeting that they've been to, and you guys have been around for a long time. So appreciate all your service and your dedication to your positions. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to start with, I think, Lisa down here with the question. Lisa and everybody else, describe your role as an individual on a multi-member board. How do you handle conflict and differences of opinion?
As I've stated before, that I pride myself in being a good listener. I do not think I'm going to go in there and be the voice of reason and the huge leader and upset everything. I'm going to listen to the people that are more experienced than I, have more knowledge than I, and listen to their expertise. I'm going to listen to the parents and listen to the community, and then try to find the middle ground, try to find the best way to go forward. I have come up with things that have been a conflict and have been able to resolve those solutions, always taking a respectful manner to people that have a different opinion than I do. I think I've had a successful track record doing that.
So as I told you from the very beginning, my husband and I have been in ministry for probably for 27 years. And in doing that, you have conflict, but you have to learn how to work through it. And so I have, over those 27 years, been able, and my 25 years plus of working in the classroom with students, been able to work through any situation. At the end of the day, most of us, when we have conflict, it's because there's some fear there. And so if we can eliminate that fear, and if we can eliminate the person's sense of loss, then we can get through any situation.
So with every decision you make, you're going to make a group unhappy and another group happy. So there's always going to be conflict. I work on a team of 6 for my profession. We manage people's life savings, so there's always, people are passionate about that, and we always have to find a way to work together. So I'm respectful that there are going to be opposing views. I think I would be tolerant to other perspectives and other points of view.
We're all working towards a common goal. Being a member of the board, we're all going to be adults. We're not all going to have the same opinions. The great thing about being adults is we can have different opinions and still be able to be cordial towards each other. So as far as our roles in the board, we're all working towards that common goal of making Valley Center the best district that it can be.
As part of the board, I would take in all the opinions or all of the sites of all the other board members, then step back and ask questions so that we can educate each other from our standpoint and also listening to their standpoint. And then we work as a team to come to the one common ground and come to a compromise. Like Spike said, we're not going to make everybody happy with every decision. So you're going to know that you may upset some people, but you have to make the right decision for the teachers, the educators, the administrators, and especially our children. So you work as one to make a common ground and to make a compromise.
As a one person in dealing with the board and being able to, I think it's very important that you listen to different perspectives and that you develop what's best for kids. Once again, what's best for kids. And it is the Board of Education is a fine example of being able to come to a decision of what is based on the best decision for kids and our community and our schools, even though we may not all have the same views. Some of the dearest people and friends of mine, we don't have the same views on a lot of things. And where you get problems is when the emotions come into it and then the anger. And when we have that, then we don't hear each other. And the sad thing about that is the kids will start to mimic that and see that that's how you handle conflict. So as a single board member, I want to be having open, sincere dialogue no matter what our differences are, and then find out and work through together what is the best decision for the kids.
Yeah, I think one of the first things I think I do as an elected official is to find out what the facts are and understand the issues. Okay, you can't really solve problems if you don't really understand what the facts are, what the issues are, and what people's perceptions or biases are on a particular issue, because sometimes they have history on the issue and they've been around for a long time or whatever, and you need to understand what that is, and then you get together and you try and solve the problem. For example, when I was the county commissioner, I was the chairman for 1 year, and there was two things that people have been trying to do for decades. The county wanted to get a new tag office for over 25 years and hadn't been able to get it done. And the city of Wichita talked about a joint law enforcement training center for at least 20 years. So I said, all right, we're going to get these two things down, and sit down and talk with everybody, talked with the city of Wichita and the mayor, and said, let's do this to move forward. And during that year, we got those two projects that people have been wanting to get done for decades. We got it done because we sat down, we understood the issue, and we came up with a plan, and we got it done.
Okay, thank you. And so I've received some questions from the audience here, so we're going to tackle these real quick. First one, how will you be transparent and ensure school district administrative staff is being transparent? We're starting with Michelle.
So transparency is a matter of integrity, and if you are integritous, you have no problem being transparent and saying what it is that you're doing or not doing. So for me, that's a value that I find and hold dear to my heart. So I think that, when your integrity is there, you'll be transparent.
So I think being transparent is being open and honest, and that's how I would act in every decision I make. That's the only way to act. As far as staff being transparent, I think there's a chain of command that should be followed in the school district that's already established, and we don't micromanage what goes on in the schools necessarily unless the superintendent brings that to the board.
So being transparent, you do have to be open and honest, but I do think that as part of the board, we do have to hold each other accountable as well, because we can't just, if we see something that somebody else is doing, we can't just swipe it under the rug and call it a day. We've got to hold each other accountable. So I think that being transparent, it does take some accountability that I feel like I do have.
Well, as it's been repeated a couple times, the open and honesty is the big keys here. You have to be open and honest about what we are looking for, what we are doing, and how we are moving forward. We lay out a plan, and the public needs to know about it. We need to communicate it to the community. So they need to know what we are doing, they need to hold us accountable, and then we need to hold ourselves accountable. And then we have to be open and honest about that as a board.
Yes, integrity, being open and honest, absolutely. And transparency is the idea of making information available to our public, to our stakeholders. And I think our website has a lot of information like that you can go look and see what's been done. I know that Our board meetings are shown on YouTube. I've watched many when I haven't watched in person, and being able to look at those even after it's filmed, as far as being a follower on YouTube, it shows a lot of transparency. We also have to keep in mind, though, there are some things that you're not allowed to. Privacy and HEPA definitely have some laws there you have to watch out for. You can't just be, you just can't wash over all those situations. You have to watch out for those. But open and honesty, that's the big thing.
Yeah, I agree. Openness, honesty. I think we could really go a long ways by videotaping our board meetings and then leaving them posted on the internet. Right now, they are live streamed, although there was a recent item on the agenda to stop that, but the board decided to proceed. I think those meetings need to be left on the internet. We need to record them and leave them out there. A lot of governments do it, because if you can't watch it right at that time, then you don't get to watch it. I think that would help with a lot of the concerns that people have out there. And when it comes to information, we've got to get accurate and timely information out to people that they can trust, because that would, I mean, we have a different opinion on this COVID stuff and everything, and I think a lot of the issues that parents have are valid, but I also think there's some distrust there that originates from not getting accurate information in a timely manner, and there is not quite the transparency out there that I think needs to happen, and I think we could improve that.
In my daily life, I practice transparency. I don't do things that I don't want other people to know about, and I think that's the way that the board should operate. There shouldn't be things that we don't want the community to know about or that we need to hide from parents, the teachers as well. I would just encourage the staff to have open communication with parents and with their administration, and I think that that's how we achieve transparency.
Okay. 30 seconds for anyone? Yeah, okay. We're going to start back up here at the beginning. Got another question from the audience. If elected, will you leave your own personal agenda at the door and make decisions that benefit the health and safety of all children, not just for your child? We're starting with Spike.
So I think you have to make the decision that benefits the most children. Every decision is not going to benefit every single one of them, but I have no trouble putting my personal agenda aside to make decisions that might even hurt my child. I think that's how you have to operate as a board member.
Yeah, I mean, that's not an issue. I do think that, kind of like, as Mike says, the kids come first, and that's why we do this, is for the children, for our students and our staff and everybody that's in the Valley Center School District, and that's why.
Yes, I can put my children are my priority, but all of the children are, as a board member, they are all of our priority. We have to think of everyone, all of the children, along with the teachers, but I can put aside what's going on with my personal agenda and go with working with and educating and working together with the team. Like he said, like Spike said, we can't make everybody happy. It won't be every child that we can look out for them all, but we cannot make everyone follow everything that we do. So it has to be what the majority does.
Well, my priority is kids first, and that is all kids. And we have such a vast difference of kids and social platforms and living arrangements. And there's a lot of different struggles that we're not aware of. And we have to keep all kids in mind as we're trying to get them to succeed and find success. And the other thing that we want to keep in mind is that, I mean, I don't have my own kids in school anymore. They've graduated. But the one thing we keep in mind is that sometimes what's best for kids is not what kids think they want. sometimes what's best is not what they need. And so we have to look at that and keep that in perspective of what is best for kids, whether they like it or not, what's best for kids. Safety, education, careers, and college readiness. We've just really branched that out, and that can really accomplish a lot.
Absolutely. I think this is imperative. This is why I support the empowerment of parents, students, and teachers. I think there's a lot of needs out there that vary from child to child and family to family, and if we empower parents and teachers and students to make decisions, I think that goes a long ways to helping children be successful. I think one of the best examples we have here is all of our college courses that we have and the career options that we have as far as they have in high school, and people can choose to do a variety of things. I've had 2 of my kids go through the home health and CNA program, and my senior's now doing the EMT program, and you have a lot of different options that out there, and you've empowered the parents and students to make the decisions as to which direction they go, and I think that's very good.
Yes, this is why we have a board of people to make these decisions and not just one person, so we can take the opinions of everyone and help decide what is best for most children. And I think that I would be able to do that, work together with people and listen to the parents and their concerns and be able to find out what is going to accommodate most children.
I think the greatest part of having a group of people be a board is that we all have different experiences, and we bring those experiences together to create synergy, to create ideas, to create what it is that we want for our kids. And so, do we totally leave everything at the door? Probably not, if we're 100% honest. But we do take that background knowledge, we do take that with candor, and we bring it forth so that we mix together and we create the synergy, and we create a board of people that are really going to do what is best for each and every one of those kiddos that we see each and every day. And we make sure that while we're making sure that the kids are taken care of, we also make sure that our staff and our administrations are taken care of as well, because when our environments are good, our kids are learning.
All right. Thank you. All right. Next question, and we'll start with Larry. What can the school board do about all the students leaving our district for private schools due to a lack of discipline in our schools? Larry?
That's a good question. I guess I wasn't aware that we had a lack of discipline. So, I mean, whenever I was here, I know that was a little while ago, but our principals, they held us accountable for the most part. So I wouldn't say that we necessarily have a lack of discipline. Can we do better? Always. But I wouldn't say that we have a lack of discipline.
Thank you.
How do we get people from leaving? We need to look at the root of that problem. I don't know that we have a lack of discipline per se, but I feel like, and maybe we do, that I don't know about. I need to be educated on that. But we need to get to the root of the problem of people leaving. I've listened to some parents, and I've listened to some teachers, and I'm not sure that what I'm hearing, at least in the last 3 weeks, I've heard from at least 10 different parents, and it's not discipline. It is other issues. Issues they're seeing in the classrooms, issues they're seeing with some teachers, and issues they're seeing with other students. But we need to get to the root of that and fix that to help with the people not to lose other students and other families.
Yeah, I was not aware that there was a big issue with that, and I don't know that discipline, I guess the lack of discipline, I've never seen that occur in all my years here. I think it's been fair, and I think that as people choose, it's kind of unusual to hear people leaving when we're talking about growth, and we're at right now the best we've been, and we are projecting in the next 4 or 5 years to grow even more. And I guess if some choose to go to a private school, maybe it's for other reasons, maybe it's for, and I think that that's their choice. We all have a choice, but, you know, we do have quite a bit of growth and quite a bit of optimism in our numbers. And so I hopefully that they would stay and join us, but at the same point in time, everyone does have a choice for where they would go and move. And some of that decision could be because of as we implement things, as we said, things that are best for kids sometimes are not the things they want.
Yeah, that goes back to one of the things I said earlier, you know, in order to solve problems, first of all, you have to understand what the problem actually is. And this question basically states that kids are leaving for other schools, and they're leaving because of discipline. So what are the facts? So we first need to find out how many kids are leaving, what kind of schools they're going, and do we have any information from those parents and students that left as to why they left? I'd love to hear from that particular individual why they say that is, and give me some specifics. You know, when I was with the county, you get lots of complaints, and sometimes complaints are just one-off, where it's very specific to their situation. Maybe you can solve it, maybe you can't. But over time, I always try to look for trends, because if I heard it from multiple people in multiple places, and then I talked to other commissioners, oh yeah, I saw that too, then maybe there's something institutionalized that we can fix, or a rule or regulation or whatever. Because you also have to understand that if some parents and kids are leaving the school, there's probably more in the school that are unhappy, and maybe we could help those as well. But first of all, we got to get down to the basics and find out what the facts are.
For my kids specifically, we really haven't seen an issue with discipline and that they've told me about in their classrooms, and they're pretty open with me with things going on. I was told by another parent that there may be one building in particular that might have some disciplinary issues, and that particular building may be lacking in cameras, so maybe that would be something to look into, catching things going on in the hallway, possibly that may not be known. That would be something I would need to look into. Also, I like the policy of see something, say something. I think that is good for the kids if they witness something to let a teacher know. I remember one of my kids had like a computer check-in every morning that they did. Like, is there something going on that you need to tell me about? Maybe if they did that in their seminar, that would be a good way to express if they had seen anything that was concerning to them. Other than that, I don't know we have huge issues with discipline.
I would say that, you know, most people that leave public schools to go to private schools, it's more than one issue. And to just say that they're leaving because of discipline probably would lead to that there's something else behind that, and there's more to that. So in this sense, you know, I do say that we do need to look more at the facts. What are the facts? What really is happening? What is really going on? But as a whole, when people choose to leave public schools to go to private, it's not just one thing. And so we would really want to look into that a little bit deeper.
I don't feel like that a lack of discipline is a systemic problem in our schools. I think that there may be some situations where parents and students didn't like how a situation was resolved or handled by the administration, but the administration doesn't make up rules on the fly, and they are simply enforcing the policies in place that the district has established.
Okay. 30 seconds. All right. Got another question here. We'll start with Tennille. As the district continues to grow, it seems as though more students feel like just a number in the crowd at the upper grade level schools. How would you address this issue?
It seems to be a recurring theme, but communication. Communication. If they feel like they're a number, then we need to somehow reach out to them. I know we've done surveys in the past and we hear from parents, but they do have seminar class or advisory, I guess, at the high school, seminar at the middle school, and those teachers are checking in with them every day. If they feel like they are a number, the teachers are very open and they know what's going on, most of them. are very pertinent to what's going on, and they can seek that out, or they see it, and a lot of them will come up and talk to them. So it might be just reaching out to the parents, and then also reaching out to the children.
If they feel like a number, they don't have a connection, a personal relationship, a connection with a group, and that's something that we need to encourage our kids to do in schools, particularly at that high school level that you mentioned. There's plenty of opportunities. I know that in this hallway, all of our kids feel like we're a family, and I think in all the sports teams and their connections with each other, it's a family-driven, and there's a lot of clubs and organizations that have that same feel. I remember one thing that happened in an in-service about a few years back, and teachers were encouraged that there were some kids who felt like they were insignificant. And we were asked to go around and look at these lists of just all these students and pick out 3 that you don't know very well and make a point to get to know them. And I really realized and looked at myself and said, yeah, I've got two or 3 in one of these classes that are really quiet. And that really helped, and it really helped a connection. So it goes both ways, but we have to make personal connections with those kids.
Yeah, I think this goes back also to the discussion we had earlier about the size of the school. I mean, we have a small community relative to Wichita, yet we're bigger than some other communities. And so when you have, 800 or 1,000 kids in school, that's a large number to some people and small to another. But we do have to be cognizant of every single child and try to get them connected to something. And that's something that we'll always have to strive on. And there again, we need to get down to what are the facts and talk to some of these kids and see if there's common themes and trends there that we can address and try and find a solution for that.
I think the teachers in, 5th down, they definitely have more of an opportunity to make connections with the kids. My kids have really benefited from those teacher relationships for sure. As they get older, just because they spend less time with those teachers, they're switching around to different classrooms, obviously those connections are going to be a little bit less. I do think what Mike said about connections was really good. They are, if they feel that way, then they're lacking a connection with a particular teacher. Communication is good. Like I said before, maybe possibly that computer check-in during the seminar or advisory would be a good thing to implement to help those kids. I know you have plenty of counselors available too, so maybe making that available would be good.
So when we think about relationship and we think about especially secondary school, I agree that moving around does make a difference in how they build that relationship versus being with one teacher all day. But building that relationship is key and is absolutely essential. So looking at how do we connect them with support staff, how do we connect them with teachers, and how do we communicate, all are the 3 things that really do help with that relationship piece. But there's also that piece in which if we don't have enough staff, then that also is a factor. And so one of the things that we would have to look at is if we are short of staff, how do we fill in those spots? Because if I'm in a really large class, that could be an issue.
I won't pretend to know every teacher in our district, but I'm pretty sure that teachers love to promote and reward good behavior and highlight achievements that they have in the classroom. And I think it's important that students, like Mike said, get involved in something, whether it be band or athletics or dance or the choir, doesn't matter, something. My son was not involved this fall, so we encouraged him to be the girls' tennis manager. He loved it. So I think you can find, students should be able to find something to do to get involved. I remember Mr. Klusner getting pie in the face several times. So that's a way that he got kids involved, maybe through like a reading a goal. Or I remember Mr. Lear spending the night on the top of the school because they had so many hours of reading. So they do a good job of including the students.
I Do you think that there's a group or there's a club or there's a athletic, whatever it may be, that there's something out there for everybody? So if somebody does feel left out, I think that all they got to do is ask, or if a teacher can realize, hey, this student, they just are kind of shy or standoffish, go talk to them, figure out why that is, what's the reason for that, and then just kind of guide them on what they may like or what they may enjoy. And Miss DJ was one of my teachers whenever I was here, and she was the ultimate teacher to me. I still talk to her to this day, and she was great at getting kids involved, whether it be working games into our lesson plans or just essentially holding us accountable. I mean, she expected a lot out of us, and I didn't always like that, but I learned a lot. She was the best teacher I ever had.
All right. Starting with Mike on this one. What can the school board do to combat the mental health challenges left over from last year's remote schooling fiasco?
Fiasco. That's a good descriptive
Loaded
word.
word.
Loaded word. That actually can spin right off from our discussions that we just had. It's very easy, particularly following that last year, for kids to feel isolation, and it is imperative that we get them into the family. These kids are in our schools as much as they're with family at home. So they need to have a family connection here. I know that we have some social help, some social worker help. We have people who can do that. We have connections in our smaller groups with teachers, with the seminar groups. But we need to get those kids out of isolation and into something that they find success with, that is a group of people, whether it's a club, an organization, a sport, an activity, because those, as I tell kids all the time, that's where you're going to grow memories, you're going to grow relationships, and if you grow relationships and you grow memories, you will be successful, both in school and out.
Yeah, I think last year and even still this year, it's been very hard on our students. We know that drug abuse and alcohol use is up, suicide is up. Some of the decisions and actions that were taken throughout the schools, throughout the state and country were really harmful to our children. A lot of this stuff scares kids, especially younger kids. We had staff here running children down in buildings saying, put a mask on or you're going to kill somebody. And these were younger kids. And when we constantly talk about fear and death and all this other stuff, even though the kids, it's like the flu, it scares them and it creates problems. And we've got to stop doing that, and we've got to get back to normal and let them smile and let them take the mask off so they can see other kids smile, their teachers smile, and vice versa. And that will go a long way. But we've got to have the courage to make that decision.
At parent-teacher conferences this last week, one of the teachers asked me about my son. She just said, your son seemed a little off. Is there something going on? And kudos to her for paying attention to the question. And, I talked to him later and everything's fine. But just parents being engaged, students having somebody that they can talk to, teachers paying attention, and she said she would have asked him if he had been sitting there, and just having that open relationship where she was concerned, she noticed behavior difference, and she was willing to talk to him about it if there was a problem or anything that she could help with, administrators as well. I think we do have teachers that have been paying attention, and we do have resources that they can come to. We just definitely need to watch the ones that would be very resistant to opening up, see if we can get them to talk to somebody.
Isolation was huge. And I think one of the things is we really began to go back to what we just talked about with feeling connected. That relationship is so important. I know for me personally, it's been a few years, but when I was in high school, I was anorexic and had some real mental health issues. And it was a teacher that helped me get through that. It was a teacher that to this day, I still have a relationship with. And so I think it becomes crucial for us to encourage our teachers to build those relationships. I'm not saying that they have to be their buddies, because that's not how that works, but that they have to build those relationships with those students so that they feel when I'm off, when I have a situation, when there's something going on, I know I can come and I can talk to you, and you're going to tell me the truth, and you're going to help me process through that.
So when COVID first started, I could not believe that with our advancements in technology and science and medicine that we were in this situation. I was frankly stunned, but it was real. We had to all deal with it. I was depressed. Probably the most extreme, I wouldn't say extreme. The thing I saw firsthand was my daughter, who was a senior, and she was so looking forward to her senior year in high school, and she laid around and didn't do anything, and it just zapped her, took all the energy out of her. So it's a real issue that we're all dealing with. But I don't know that that's a board issue. We all need to take personal responsibility for ourselves and, fight through this and get through the situation together. So, it's a big problem that we've all, as a society, got to deal with.
So when you're a student, you have the same teachers every single day. Then those teachers, they get to know you. They know when you're off. The teachers can go up to you and say, hey, I noticed you're off today. Everything okay? Well, I know if that was me, I would just shrug them off. Yeah, I'm good. Well, maybe implementing something to where, we can have the counselors, say, hey, so-and-so teacher said you didn't seem like yourself. I know you told them you were fine, but just wanted to double check on you and know that, we're there for you, we care about you. So maybe something to that regard.
As mental health has evolved, it's always been there, and we've had issues, but it is more highlighted now due to the past year. It needs to be a focus, and it was a small focus, but I think we have highlighted it now. And now more than ever, we need to provide the adequate emotional and compassionate support that we can. How do we do that? I haven't found the great answer yet, but we can reach out to our counselors, our psychologists, our nurses, our teachers, even ask the students. Ask some of the students that are well connected to reach out to other students. If you see somebody's off, talk to them. Say, hi, what's going on? But we need to connect all of these dots and put them together and see what resources we can have and what we can use to bring forth for the mental health of not just our students, but also our teachers, administrators, and faculty and staff.
Okay, we're going to get one more question in, and then we'll do the round of, the last round there. Start with Richard on this one. Richard and everyone else, what do you think is an educational strength of USD 262?
Well, I think we have several, but I think in my experience, the teachers have been obviously a strength. They've been very knowledgeable of my children's needs, and they've been very receptive to that. I always go back also to the programs that we have as far as college and career, the dual credit hours and all the career pathways. I think that's something. There are other schools that have it around here, but I think we're one of, if not the leader in that, and that is very, very important. I think that sets us apart, and I think that is why some people want to come here, and I think we should be very proud of that.
Yeah, teachers were also the thing that I thought of as a strength in our district. We have such amazing teachers. They have also been very individualistic with their care of my kids. I had a daughter that was really, really struggling, and the teacher encouraged me to have her get her eyes checked, and come to find out she had double vision. And if it hadn't been for that teacher, I may not have realized to do that. So the teachers have just been absolutely amazing. They really, really care for your kids, and they go above and beyond to make sure that they are helping them in every way that they possibly can.
I would say, as I've really been looking through all of the information, there is a vast amount of information that is given on our website. There is the amount of information from the central office, I think, is phenomenal in making sure that parents and the community know exactly what's happening. Nothing is being hidden. And I love that. I loved being able to go there and see everything that was happening. I know that as we look at career readiness, as we look at college readiness, our scores are good. I know that as I looked through and we were looking at some comparisons as to what was happening, we're doing a great job, but we're not tooting our horn nearly enough and letting people know of the great things that are happening in Valley Center.
I think a couple of highlights in our district are the leadership, not only from the central office, but at the schools. I think we have great leaders in charge of our schools, and the communication, as was pointed out. One of my goals would be to try to keep as many of those leaders in place as we can. I know it's been a very difficult 2 years, and some of them are worn down. Most of them are worn down, but we're all going to get through this together, and we got to do what we can to keep them in place.
I think walking through our buildings, you can tell that the staff, the teachers, the administration, they all truly care. Walking through the cleanliness, I mean, all the way down to the janitors, they do it the right way. And I think you can tell just being here, being around everybody, that everybody truly does care.
As everybody said, the teachers and their communication, at least in my perspective, I am hearing from the teachers, yes, sometimes I have to reach out to them, but if I have a question, they get back with me within 24 hours, and that comes from the top down, the administrators to the staff to the faculty. The teachers are go above and beyond. Also, our SPED program. I believe that we have one of the best SPED programs we continue to grow it. And I think that's a highlight of our community and our education system.
Our biggest asset are its people. Absolutely, from top to bottom. We've got the right people in the right places with their strengths matching up to what they do best for kids. And particularly, not only in the schools, but the tie-in that we have in our community. Our schools are very vital to our community, and they're tied in. They work together with community for outreach. We rally together for people in need, for our SPED kids when they're at ball games. It's incredible when they have their basketball games, the absolute thunderous applause and support that's there. When someone's in trouble in the community, we rally around. And our kids get that because from top to bottom, our school knows that that's vitally important. And that gives meaning to those kids, and it gives meaning to our staff.
All right. 30 seconds, anyone on that one? Okay, well, there are a couple of questions that we didn't get to tonight. I know everybody has, things going on. We want to get people home, but and I'll reach out to the candidates with these questions and publish something online and in the paper on those. Okay, so I just wanted to remind you, we're going to let them kind of close things up here, but early voting in this election starts on October the 18th. And then we'll have some advanced voting locations, satellite locations other than Sedgwick County Election Office. We're going to, here in Valley Center at the Community Center, also in Park City at City Hall, October 28th through the 30th. And then, of course, Election Day is November 2nd, okay? So hopefully you guys will get out and vote. Hopefully you learned about a little bit more about these candidates. get to know them some more. Email them. I've seen websites. I've seen Facebook pages. You just reach out to them. They'll be glad to talk to you. They have been gracious to us as the paper too. So anyway, we were with Richard. We're going to start with Lisa. You have a minute to sum up, and you might just touch on, I know you might have something prepared, but you might just touch on sort of what qualifies you to be a school board member as you go through your closing remarks, okay?
My ending statement I had prepared talked about the strengths and weaknesses of the districts, and since we've already gone through the strengths, I'll briefly touch on a couple things I think we could improve on. Breakdown in positive communication. When the parents and teachers feel unheard or helpless, it makes everyone weak. We begin to not trust each other and question motives. I encourage everyone involved to be transparent, be respectful, protect the innocent of children, maintain integrity, and build back up the reputation that made this district so great. What makes me qualified: I will stay informed, I am willing, I will do the work, I will send emails and ask questions, I will listen to your concerns, even of those who disagree with me. I would love to be on your team and represent you on our school board.
Again, my name is Michelle Van. I am an educator. I have been an educator for over 25 years. I am willing to do the work that it takes to bring our school district to the place that it needs to be. I am willing to push through and do the work. As we look at our district, because it is ours, all of ours, making sure that mental health of our students and our parents and our staff is so important. How do we make our community the best place it can be? How can we make sure that our schools are viable? As our schools go, as our community goes, the health of our people and the health of our students are all wrapped together. And so as we progress, as we move forward, as we continue to push, we want to make sure that mental health and the best thing for our kids is on our mind. And at the end of the day, it is about our students.
I have 3 goals that I want to accomplish as a school board member. I would like to be an advocate. I would like to be an advocate for our students, for our teachers, our staff, and our administration. And I'd like to help make the system better for all involved. I'm passionate about Valley Center, and I think that a stronger school makes for a stronger community. We have great schools now, but we need to continue to work hard to achieve more. Second goal is I want to lead. I've made a concerted effort to be a leader in our community. And the third thing is I'd like to serve. As I've outlined earlier, I have a sincere desire to serve our community, and it's been a priority in my life. I'd like to continue this by helping foster an environment of collaboration, coordination, and communication in our schools. I am the positive choice.
So I think this is a very unique opportunity because we actually get the opportunity to make a difference. You know, kind of like what Spike had mentioned earlier, I don't have any ambition to run for any other public office higher than this. We've planted our roots here in Valley Center. We've always had our roots here in Valley Center. And I think this is a great opportunity to be able to make a difference in our community. And kind of like Spike said, our schools are the heart of our community in most cases. So I will do my best to be involved with the whole board and make the positive choice for our children.
Listen, learn, lead, and serve. Those are my goals. As we know, the Board of Education plays a critical role in determining our policies for us, for our children, for our teachers, staff, and faculty. If elected as a Board of Education member, I'll push the board for transparency and honesty. I will ask in-depth questions about policy and programs so that we as a community understand the value they will bring to the classroom and to the school. I'll listen and reflect the concerns of the community and work collaboratively with fellow board members to improve our schools. We value a top-notch education as a premier district, and we can provide that if we work together. I will ask the hard questions without dividing us and putting politics or friendships first. So thank you for your time.
I want to be a part of this Board of Education in order to help provide the best educational opportunities in the safest environment for our students and staff while being fiscally responsible to our shareholders. I've been blessed with our 3 kids coming through and getting the best education possible. I've got a daughter who is a doctor, a daughter who's a nurse, and a daughter who's an elementary teacher, just like her grandmother, just like her mother, just like her father. Education is crucial to me in my life and in my family's life. And I believe that this is a new chapter I'm very excited about and passionate about in keeping kids first.
As a school board member, as I've stated earlier, my primary focus will be on student achievement. This is very important for me. Education is important to me, my wife, my family. I think it can be the key to success in future life. I really want to focus on that, and I have experience as an elected official in the military and even on a daily basis as a physician assistant working with teams to try to solve difficult problems. I think going forward, I really hope that we could focus in on what we want to focus in, and that be education, but I think we're going to have a lot of input from politicians at every level of government, some of which may be detrimental, and I think my previous experience in medicine and public health and as an elected official would be very beneficial to this district. I know the people at the county level, I know the people at the state level, and I know the people at the federal level, so when things start coming down, I want to be there and make sure that our voice is heard in these discussions as we move forward. My name is Richard Ranzo, and ask for your vote on November 2nd.
All right, thank you. Well, that wraps it up for us. Appreciate the candidates. Let's give them a round of applause. I think it's appropriate. Thank you very much. Tackled some issues and got you some points across, and we really appreciate that. Thank you all for coming out. I appreciate it, and like I said, check the Ark Valley News website for additional responses, and our newspaper as well. So, all right. Thank you, and good night. Thank you, guys. Thank you, appreciate it. Good job. Good job. Thank you so much. Mike, good job. Richard, thank you so much. That was awesome. Thanks so
Matthew Wayne, Matthew Wayne, the dress. Yeah. Good job. Good job. How you doing? Nice to meet you.
You survived.
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
Start to take the pepper for me, because it's a little scared. See you later. Thank you. Good job.
Were you boarding those? Jeez, I was like... What?
Her audience
Oh, yeah. No, you're fine. I think we